The most valuable car company in the world is named after Nikola Tesla, but the electric car was actually shaped by his greatest rival, Thomas Edison.
Who, together with Henry Ford, tried to build an affordable electric car 100 years before Tesla existed. And they failed. The reason why will surprise you.
Things you've never seen, now revealed.
This is Cars in Detail.
The most valuable car company in the world today is Tesla, named after the inventor Nikola Tesla. But here's something almost no one knows. The electric car was actually shaped more than a century ago by Tesla's greatest rival, Thomas Edison. And Edison didn't work alone. He teamed up with none other than Henry Ford, the man who put the world on wheels. Two of the greatest geniuses in American history, two close friends, with money, fame, and brilliance to spare, joined forces to build a cheap electric car for the masses. And they did it more than 100 years ago. And yet, they failed. The story of why they failed is one of the most fascinating in the history of the automobile, and it explains a great deal about the car you drive today.
First, you have to understand that Ford and Edison weren't just colleagues. They were genuine friends, the kind who went camping together, exchanged lavish gifts, and even owned winter homes side by side. But it went deeper than friendship. Years earlier, as a young man, Henry Ford had actually worked for Edison. He was an engineer at the Edison Illuminating Company in Detroit, and he rose to become its chief engineer. Edison had been his hero since boyhood. And then came the moment that changed everything. In 1896, at a convention of Edison's own company men, a nervous young Ford was introduced to the great inventor and described the little gasoline car he was tinkering with. And Edison, excited, banged the table and told him, "Your car carries its own power plant, no fire, no boiler, no smoke, no steam. You have the thing. Keep at it." It was one of the greatest inventors in the world giving his blessing to the man who would put the world on wheels. Hold on to that moment, because it's what would bind these two men to the same dream years later.
And the project was ambitious. While Ford dominated car manufacturing with his famous gasoline Model T, Edison was obsessed with something else entirely: batteries. He had created a special battery, made of nickel and iron, and he dreamed that its great market would be electric cars. So the two friends joined forces. In 1914, Ford publicly announced the Ford Electric. The plan was to sell this car for around $900, with a range of about 100 miles. Cheap and practical, exactly the way people were buying the Model T. Ford himself confirmed it in the newspaper. The fact is that Mr. Edison and I have been working for some years on an electric automobile that would be cheap and practical. The dream had been announced to the entire world.
And there's a detail in this story that will melt your heart. Ford believed so strongly in the electric car that he bought one, a 1914 Detroit Electric, as a gift for his own wife, Clara. And, like a caring husband, he had a charging station installed at home to make sure she could always get back safely. Think about that. The man of the gasoline Model T, with an electric car in his garage and a charger at home in 1914. It's almost a scene from today. Edison had his own electric car too. Both friends truly believed this was the future, but the future had one obstacle they could not overcome, and this same obstacle, 100 years later, would decide the fate of Tesla itself.
That single thing, the one obstacle that brought down the dream of America's two greatest geniuses, is the same thing that a century later would make or break every electric car company alive. We'll reveal what it was in just a moment. But first, you need to understand why. Despite all that money and all that talent, their car simply never took off.
The villain of this story has a name: the battery. That nickel-iron battery of Edison's, the great bet of the entire project, had serious problems. It was far too expensive. The battery alone could cost between $200 and $600 per car. To grasp how absurd that is, a brand new gasoline Model T cost roughly the same as just the battery of the electric one. And beyond being expensive, it was heavy, it was bulky, and it took a very long time to recharge. Ford's team tried everything, but they couldn't get Edison's batteries to deliver what they needed. They even swapped in ordinary lead-acid batteries, but at that point the project lost its whole reason to exist. Without Edison's special battery, there was no point in continuing. It's estimated Ford spent around $1.5 million, most of it on batteries, before he pulled the plug.
And at the same time, the world outside was racing in the opposite direction. The gasoline Model T was an enormous success, and it got cheaper every single year. Gasoline offered more range, and you could refuel in minutes, while electric charging points were extremely rare. Gas stations, on the other hand, were popping up everywhere. Ford, who was a practical man above all else, looked at all this and made the cold decision. He reportedly said a line that sums up the end of the project. The electric car is not the car for the masses. And he threw everything back into the gasoline Model T. The electric car of the two geniuses was shelved. And Edison himself summed up the defeat in one perfect sentence. The problem is not the car. It's the battery.
And look at how remarkable that sentence from Edison really is. The problem is not the car, it's the battery. Because he was absolutely right. The electric car didn't lose to gasoline because it was a worse idea. It lost because of a single component that just wasn't ready yet. The battery. The electric motor was wonderful, quiet, clean, simple. All that was missing was a way to store enough energy, cheaply and lightly. And that one piece, the good battery, took almost a century to arrive. In other words, Ford and Edison weren't wrong. They were just 100 years too early. They had the right vision at the wrong time.
And here comes the greatest irony in this entire story, the kind only real life could write. Today, the most valuable electric car company in the world, the one that finally made the dream of the affordable electric car come true, is called Tesla. And the name Tesla comes from Nikola Tesla, a brilliant inventor who was, of all people, Thomas Edison's greatest rival. Back in the 1880s and 90s, the two had fought a bitter, famous battle known as the War of the Currents. Edison had staked everything on direct current, while Tesla's alternating current, backed by Westinghouse, proved cheaper and more practical over long distances. And in the end, Tesla's system won and lit up the world. So think about the full circle that history just made. The dream of the electric car, which Edison could not make real in 1914, finally came true a century later, carrying the name of the very rival who had beaten him once before. If Edison were alive to see it, I honestly don't know whether he'd laugh or cry.
So, the next time you see a modern electric car glide silently past you down the street, remember that this idea is not new. It is older than your great-grandfather. Remember the two friends, Ford and Edison, spending a fortune, dreaming of this very car back in 1914. Remember Clara, driving her electric through town, with the charger waiting for her at home. And remember the most important lesson of all. Sometimes a brilliant idea doesn't fail because it's wrong. It fails because it arrived too early, before the world was ready for it. The electric car did not die in 1914. It simply waited, patiently, for the right battery to arrive. And that is why we look at cars, and the stories behind them, in detail.
Now tell me in the comments, did you have any idea the electric car was this old? And would you buy an electric car today? Or do you still prefer gasoline? Write it down. I read them all. If this story surprised you, leave a like, subscribe, and share it with that friend who loves cars and history. It's what helps this channel grow. And don't miss the next episode, with another incredible story behind a car you already know. See you there, here on Cars in Detail.